I'm the Simple Car Guy, and I'm going to spend a week with the most popular mid-size pickup truck on the market that has been making waves since its release in 2019. I'm eager to get behind the wheel of this 2023 Jeep Gladiator Willys Sport, drive up into the mountains, and bring you guys with me along the way. I'm excited to learn more about this truck and see if it's still worth the hype after all these years. Let's do it. This truck looks fairly large on the outside, but the first test is to see how easily it will fit our gear. We usually pack pretty light, but we do have skis and a couple of bags with us. So let's give it a test. Let's get the skis first. That works. We have the car all loaded up and ready to go. So let's see how it drives. All right, so first drive in the Jeep Gladiator. Let's see how the engine feels. We're gonna punch a little bit. We're pretty loaded in here, but it does accelerate rather quickly, especially for a big car like this. The suspension doesn't feel nearly as sports car-like, I would say. It feels like a big car, and you can definitely feel it through the corners, especially when you go through the sharper corners. Even at slightly higher speed, the car rolls, but that's to be expected from a Jeep. Now, that slightly wobbly suspension does help a lot with the comfort of the car. And of course, the big tires, a lot of sidewalls, so that helps us absorb a lot of those bumps. We just went through a slightly rougher patch earlier on, and it doesn't feel that bad. Of course, if you do hit those really deep bumps, it does throw the car off a little bit. So not sure if that's just a Jeep thing or that's how most big cars behave. But we're gonna go on the highway, see how that feels, and we're gonna check back with you. Now that we're going highway speeds, how does the truck feel? Well, there's definitely a lot of wind noise, which I was not expecting. I'm used to a more insulated type of interior, but it is very smooth and very comfortable at higher speeds. As you can see, we're driving into the mountains now, and one thing I've noticed is that this car is definitely top heavy, and you better stick to the speed limits going through the corners. When it says 35, you better not be going in 40 or it is starting to roll, and the back's starting to step out a little bit as well. I am in a two-wheel drive high, so maybe that's why. Maybe it's time to switch to four-wheel drive. I don't know. But as an example, this corner is going to be 45 miles an hour. I'm doing 50 right now, and that's probably as fast as you'd want to go here. All right, so we're definitely in the mountains now, and we're going up a pretty steep hill now. So let me punch it and see how it goes. All right, so we're at 6,500 RPM, basically redlining, but at least it pulls you up the hill. Pretty decent engine here. But we're definitely in the snow now in the mountains. As you can see, it's not a lot of traction with just the rear-wheel drive. Of course, we would turn on four-wheel drive if needed, but this is fun. I'm definitely having a good time. I don't know about the passengers. I think, oh, yeah. ABS works, but the car is definitely slidey. All right, let's go back because we missed that turn. So yeah, this kind of stuff definitely requires all-wheel drive. And I'm glad I got this car as a rental and not a small front-wheel drive SUV, because we are hitting snow and there are definitely places where we're going uphill, downhill, so you want that traction. There's a lot more snow here than I expected, because the entire way here it was just... Oh yeah, I'm gonna turn on my four-wheel drive now. We're gonna go in neutral. Oh, there it is. All right, so we just put the truck in 4 low. Now we can actually make it up that hill. All right, so it may not look that steep, but it definitely is pretty steep in places, just like that spot on the right over there. But we're going downhill now. We're not sure if there's gonna be any inclines here, but four-wheel drive with low gearing is definitely helpful here. You can feel the torque in all 4 wheels. It's gripping so much better now. I feel like I'm fully in control of the truck. Each wheel has its grip. You can see how much snow there are on the sides, probably a good 4 to 5 feet. Now we're approaching a little hill. I'm still in 4x4 and low gearing. The truck grips nicely through the snow. All right, another turn, I'm gonna give it a little bit of gas. There's absolutely no sliding now. It just grips and crawls up that hill. Look at that. Throttle's probably 20-30%. We're going about 15 miles an hour, 2,000 RPM. Crawls like it should. And downhill now. So this is basically like overlanding, except we're in the snow. Very cool. Now we're more in the fresh powder type of snow. You can see the ski resort on the right side over there, so a lot of fresh snow here. Great for skiing, probably not great for driving, but in this car, no problem. All right, another little hill. Give it a bit of gas. The car's regulating the throttle basically on its own, so I can push it as much as I want, but it's just going at a steady speed. It feels the same way going down. It's regulating the speed, so it's like hill descent. Hill descent's kicking in and taking us down slowly and safely. So if you're wondering why we went for the Jeep Gladiator and not, let's say, a Toyota RAV4, this is why. You don't want to get stuck here. And I believe we're here. What a truck. Well, I definitely feel like I picked the right car for this trip, because there is about 6 foot of snow, almost as tall as the truck. Yeah, this was a trip. I'm definitely not used to driving in this much snow. Well, it's not that much on the ground, but just up all these hills and everything. Of course, I'm from Chicago, so we do drive in a lot of snow, but it's basically flat most of the time. I have to say that driving this truck in this environment has been an absolute blast. I'll be honest, the first 30 minutes of driving in a small town, I wasn't very impressed, as it was my first time driving a pickup truck and I just couldn't get used to the soft suspension and absolutely no feel in the steering. However, the more I drove it, the more engaging it became. I started to like the feeling of being up high and having a commanding view of the road. The 3.6-liter V6 produces 285 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque, and while it's not a monster, it does manage to propel the truck to 60 in about 7.5 seconds, so it does not feel sluggish at all. It's also available in a diesel variant, which offers impressive fuel efficiency for a mid-sized truck like this and allows for heavier loads when towing. And as we started making our way into the mountains, the road started getting rougher, wetter, and more slippery, and eventually snowy, just like here. This is where the off-road capabilities really started to shine to me. The four-wheel drive system, locking differentials, and impressive ground clearance made it easy to drive in the snow up a steep hill. I even had some time to look at these absolutely breathtaking views. Now, a few days later, I feel like the compromises made on the highway are well worth the reward you get driving it anywhere else. And I'm not even talking about the off-road capabilities, which are impressive. I didn't have a chance to test it in a tougher terrain, and I'm not sure I would want to anyway in a rental, but people seem to praise its capabilities. It seems that the Jeep Gladiator isn't just a one-trick pony after all. It handles decent at higher speeds, even if there is a lot of wind and tire noise. It's fairly comfortable in town and has a towing capacity of up to 7,650 pounds. So you can hold just about anything and do just about anything as well. Now let's talk about the Gladiator's design. It's been a couple of years since its release, but the Jeep Gladiator is still one of the most stylish and rugged looking midsize trucks on the road. Its iconic and classic Jeep design mixed with a pickup truck bed gives it a unique look that appeals to many. Of course, we can pick at many interesting design choices on the Jeep, like the short bed or the 80s inspired styling, But overall, it's a good-looking vehicle. I have to admit, I was a bit skeptical about the truck bed at first, but it ended up being really useful. I used it for my ski bag and luggage, and it made the whole process a lot easier. I could easily see how this can be very useful for hauling stuff to and from the store, or bringing a bunch of your camping gear with you camping. The interior on this truck is just as interesting as the exterior. It's spacious and comfortable with plenty of legroom for both the driver and the passengers, especially for what this is. The seats are also really supportive, which is important on longer drives, though it is very rugged on the inside here, but I do think that is the idea. I'm just not used to seeing bare metal and a roll cage inside a car. It has plenty of wind noise at higher speeds as well. However, the dashboard is well laid out and the touchscreen infotainment system is easy to use. It's got all of the latest features, including Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, once again making it easy to road trip in. Finally, let's talk about the price. There isn't much that will get you this much attention for around 40,000 bucks. The Jeep Gladiator is not a cheap vehicle, but you're getting a lot of vehicle and attention for your money. It's also a great investment if you're someone who needs a truck bed and a vehicle that can handle off-road adventures. The off-road capability does come at a cost, the cost of being a bit rough on bumpy roads, and of course the gas mileage suffers from the chunky and heavy suspension and the wheel and tire combo. It cost me about $600 to rent this truck for a week, which I think is a decent price, all things considered, and it's been a lot more interesting and fun to drive than a regular rental car. Today is the day that I'm returning this truck, and after spending a week with the Jeep Gladiator, I think I might actually miss it. That being said, was it worth the hype, and would I buy one for myself? While driving through the mountains, gravel roads, and deep snow, I couldn't think of a better vehicle to take me on this adventure, and of course in style. So in that regard, it 100% lived up to the hype. It's a very capable truck, and I've learned a lot this week, but I don't think I would actually buy one. Since I live in the suburbs of Chicago, I don't have a need for off-road capabilities, but I would still be paying for it when it comes to comfort, acceleration, ease of finding a parking spot, and of course, fuel economy. I'll put the numbers on the screen, but we basically used up the entire fuel tank with not that much driving. And to be very clear, you can tell the Jeep put a lot of thought and effort and care into this vehicle, and it shows in every aspect of its design and performance. If you're in the market for a mid-size pickup truck that can do it all, I highly recommend giving the Jeep Gladiator a test drive. I would also highly recommend clicking on this video where I talk about the reliability of this truck and problems to expect. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.